Did you know that playing Superman can ruin your life? Or even cost you your life? Several actors who portrayed the Man of Steel have ended up with tragic fates. Coincidence or a real curse? The legend of the Superman curse has appeared in various forms, affecting people involved with the character at different times. They say this curse impacts those who play Superman or characters close to him, like Lois Lane. There are cases of accidents, illnesses, personal issues, and careers that crumbled after being associated with Superman projects. Let's start from the beginning. For audiences in the 1950s, George Reeves was Superman, charismatic, strong, smiling, the perfect superhero. But off-screen, his life was very different. And in 1959, he was found dead in his bedroom, shot in the head. To this day, his death remains one of Hollywood's darkest mysteries. George Reeves began his film career in the 1930s. He had small roles in big movies like Gone with the Wind. But everything changed in 1951 when he was cast as Superman in the TV series Adventures of Superman. From 1952 to 1958, he became the face of the world's most famous superhero. A hero to millions of children, but also a prisoner of the role. Once the show ended, Reeves couldn't land any other jobs. Hollywood typecast him as Superman, and no one took him seriously for different roles. He wasn't married, but had complex relationships, first with Toni Mannix, the wife of an MGM executive, and later with Leonore Lemon, a socialite with a wild reputation. By the end of his life, Reeves was frustrated, unemployed, and deeply depressed. On the night of June 16, 1959, Reeves was found dead in his bedroom, a gunshot to the head. The police ruled it a suicide almost immediately. But the details were too suspicious to ignore. 3 shots were fired, not just one. 2 bullets hit the walls, only 1 struck his body. Several people were in the house, including his fiancée, but no one clearly saw or heard what happened. The body was moved before the police arrived. Gunn had very few fingerprints. Some pointed to Toni Mannix or her husband, Eddie Mannix, a powerful MGM executive with rumored mob ties, as potential suspects driven by jealousy or revenge. George Reeves was only 45 when he died. His death left more questions than answers. Was it a suicide brought on by depression and a failed career? Or was it murder covered up by Hollywood's elite? His story cast the first dark shadow over Superman's legacy, and for many, it was the true beginning of the curse. In 1978, Christopher Reeve put on the red cape and flew. He became the Superman of an entire generation, tall, handsome, talented, the perfect hero. But life off-screen had a cruel fate waiting a devastating accident that left him completely paralyzed and fueled the myth of the Superman curse. Reeve was a young, promising actor when he was cast in Superman, the movie. The film became a global hit, and his performance was so iconic he became permanently tied to the character. Between 1978 and 1987, he played Superman in 4 films, but after the final one, his career began to stall. Reeve tried to distance himself from the superhero image. He did theater, indie films, and even turned down major roles to prove himself as a serious dramatic actor. He was married to Dana Morosini and had 3 children. Off-screen, he was thoughtful, intelligent, and socially active, but everything changed in 1995. On May 27th, while competing in an equestrian event, his horse stopped mid-jump and threw him headfirst to the ground. The impact shattered his cervical vertebrae and damaged his spinal cord. Reeve was left quadriplegic, unable to move from the neck down, and reliant on a ventilator to breathe. It was a devastating blow. Superman, the symbol of strength and freedom, was now confined to a wheelchair. But instead of giving up, Reeve became a powerful advocate for spinal cord injury research, founded a nonprofit, wrote books, and gave motivational talks. He became a real-life hero. He passed away in 2004 at age 52 from complications related to his condition. To many, his accident was yet another chapter in the so-called Superman curse. But even in the darkest circumstances, Reeve showed what it truly means to be a hero. Before Reeves, there was another Superman, an actor who first flew on the big screen, only to be nearly erased from cinematic history. His name was Kirk Alyn. Alyn was a Broadway actor who, in 1948, became the first ever on-screen Superman in Columbia Pictures movie serials. He starred in Superman 1948 and Atom Man vs. Superman 1950. With limited budget and crude special effects, flight scenes were actually cartoons. Alyn still brought the character to life, but despite his popularity, his career never took off. He was instantly typecast. Producers didn't want Superman in anything else. In interviews, Alyn once said, After Superman, no one would take me seriously. They'd say, "We can't cast Superman in this." He slowly faded from Hollywood, doing minor roles and retiring in the 60s years later. In 1978, he made a cameo in Superman, the movie as Lois Lane's father, a small symbolic nod to his legacy. Kirk Alyn died in 1999 at age 88. His end wasn't tragic, but he lived long enough to watch his pioneering role be mostly forgotten. The curse has also been linked to Superman's creators, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, who sold the character's rights for almost nothing and spent most of their lives in poverty. And then there's Margot Kidder, perhaps the most iconic Lois Lane. She shined alongside Christopher Reeve, but behind the scenes, her life was anything but heroic. Mental illness, addiction, and a tragic end made her yet another victim of the Superman curse. A Canadian actress with natural charm, played Lois Lane from 1978 to 1987 in all 4 Reeve-led Superman films. But while her character was strong and bold, her real life was falling apart. After Superman, her career faltered minor roles, behind-the-scenes issues, and a silent battle with bipolar disorder. In 1996, she disappeared for several days. She was found homeless in Los Angeles, with broken teeth and paranoid delusions. The media mocked her. The brave, clever Lois Lane had become a tabloid punchline. She eventually recovered, became an advocate for mental health, and returned to acting in smaller roles. She lived quietly in Montana. Margot Kidder died in 2018 at age 69. The official cause, suicide by overdose. Another life touched by darkness. Brandon Routh was an unknown when he was cast in Superman Returns 2006, a spiritual sequel to the Reeve era. Though it grossed over $390 million, it wasn't enough for Warner Bros. The sequel was scrapped, and Routh was quietly let go. For over a decade, he struggled to find footing in Hollywood. He worked in TV, small films, and eventually joined the Arrowverse as the Atom. In 2019, he reprised his Superman role in Crisis on Infinite Earths, now as a seasoned, older version of the hero. Fans loved it, but the spotlight was no longer his. Brandon Routh didn't face tragedy, but some say the curse doesn't always destroy you. Sometimes it just erases you. Smallville was a youthful reinterpretation of Clark Kent's origins before becoming Superman. For a decade, it was a television success that helped redefine the superhero for a new generation. In that story, Allison Mack played Clark's intelligent, loyal, and brave friend, a precocious journalist with strong values and a big heart. Ironically, the character who embodied integrity and kindness would ultimately stand in painful contrast to the real-life path taken by the actress who portrayed her. After Smallville ended, Mack was linked to NXIVM, an organization that presented itself as a self-help and personal empowerment group, but which in reality operated as a pyramid-style cult led by Keith Raniere. Within NXIVM, Mack was not only recruited but rose to a leadership role, becoming a key figure in a secret subgroup of the cult known as DOS. This hidden cell functioned as a system of sexual slavery in which women were manipulated, branded with hot irons, and forced into obedience through threats and blackmail. In 2021, Allison Mack was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her involvement in these crimes. Although her sentence was lighter due to her cooperation with authorities, the scandal shattered her public image and turned her into a tragic symbol of how someone seemingly successful and beloved can fall into the grip of manipulation and fanaticism. Henry Cavill seemed ideal, strong, charming, noble. He debuted in Man of Steel 2013, directed by Zack Snyder. Then came Batman v Superman 2016 and Justice League 2017. None of them met box office expectations. Though beloved by fans, Warner never gave him a proper sequel. In October 2022, he announced he was back as Superman after a Black Adam cameo, but just 2 months later, he was fired when James Gunn took over DC Studios. Cavill was Superman for 10 years, but starred in only one solo film. He was adored, but mistreated by the studio, and while he didn't suffer tragedy, his story is another reminder, being Superman in real life is anything but heroic. The most recent case, Gene Hackman, the legendary actor who played Lex Luthor. In February 2025, he and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead in their Santa Fe home. She died from hantavirus, a disease spread by rodents. Hackman died days later of heart failure worsened by Alzheimer's. No one discovered their bodies for days. A lonely, tragic end that once again fed the myth of the curse. In July 2025, Superman's legacy will take a new turn with the debut of David Corenswet, the next Man of Steel. After decades marked by tragedy, scandal, and mystery, he arrives with the hope of breaking the curse once and for all.